So let's go ahead and just talk about a bit about what we've got. So here's the way this is going to go for today, because part of this being sick was that during over the weekend was that I didn't get really the chance to go over and make changes, realizing that, oh gosh, the homework I'm giving out, it has something that's more from chapter 7 in this book rather than chapter 2. So, but that's okay. I have faith in you all. But that being said, so here's the so aside from this first part of this first assignment, for the most part, I'm going to be following the book, except for this part in chapter 8, which has to do with conditionals. We're going to get into that a bit right now during this class. In fact, I'm going to give you a preview of basically all the stuff, the basics of the stuff we're going to learn in the first couple weeks, especially now that things have more solidified. Also, I've started giving out assignments for the textbook. I'll send out an announcement as well. These are just things that I think I have a due date for later in the week, but what you want to do is once you've signed up for the textbook, which you should have done so by now, again, it's free. So what you do is that you go over here to assignments, and you may have just done these already as part of just sitting down and doing the course. But basically, over here, we have readings for chapter 2. Over here, and then it will come up with the problems you need. So here's a multiple choice problem, right? What's the value of x after x executes, right? So let me zoom in over here, right? So you guys can see that actually, right? And these are just a bunch of multiple choice. These are my favorite, by the way, over here, which are parson puzzles. And what you do is that you drag the blocks of code in the appropriate order so that they're going to do what they say on the instructions. There's going to be a number of those that we're going to be doing throughout the course. And so you just basically, it will go ahead and try to score you on those. I'm not really sure how the scoring is going to work. I don't know if you can try it multiple times but it's, again, a pretty low percentage of grade. And then we have one for the if statements that will help as well. And a lot of these are in the readings for the various parts. And they're just there to help you out. You'll also see that basically that there's a very good video. Some of these videos are actually quite good. Some of them are meh. It really just depends because this is an amalgamation of a lot of different stuff. Like over here in Boolean, let's see, in conditional execution, binary selection. No, that wasn't it. Was it? Really? Intro. No. It was precedence. Really? There's a nice video. I could have sworn I saw it last night, and I swear I wasn't hallucinating it. Oh, there it is. See? Conditional execution. And this video is very good explaining the way if statements work, if not necessarily a structure, which is what we're going to go over today. But anyway, so just these assignments over here, they'll let you know what you need to, they let you know what to read as well. Like over here, it has a list of the stuff that basically I want you to read. And honestly, again, a lot of the stuff for reading ends up being like, oh, I have exercises to do, which means hitting the run button, which won't be that bad, right? So, but it's, again, a lot of this is just simply self-check and making sure you understand the stuff in the textbook. It's not going to be, if it ends up being a big hassle, let me know. Because, again, I'm trying to experiment and try a new thing, and your feedback is actually something I listen to, okay? So, so what did we learn over the past? Let's see. Yeah, what did we learn last time? So we learned mostly last time about the various ways the mathematical operators worked in Python, and that's mostly what our first quiz is going to be about. So before we take our first quiz, let's review those various things about the way mathematical operators work. Right? So we had, you have your plus operator, right? 3 plus 3. You have minus, right? We have plus, minus, 5 minus 2. And then we have our, let's see, we have plus, we have minus, we have multiply, 3 times 2, which will give me 6 right over there. And then we learned that basically that exponents don't work the way we think they should, right? That's not 3 squared. Wait a second. This is because this is an exclusive OR operator, not because which is something you haven't learned yet. No panic about that. It's not, in fact, well, let me see if this works at all. Does it still sound like it's coming from the mic? Great, but no more feedback from that. Okay, so, and so instead to do exponentiation in Python, you do 3 times to do 3 squared. Okay. The main confusion, though, that most students get aren't these operations. These are fairly straightforward because they work with the exact same order of operations you'd expect. What the issue is instead is the 3 division operators, right? Integer division, float division, and modulo, right? Modulo technically isn't division, but we can classify it in the same way, right? Because it does because you will rely off of division to get your answer, right? So if I do 7 divided by 2, this is called floating point division, right? Because it will result in a floating point, regardless, right? We've learned about 3 different types. We've learned about the, this is really, yeah, I can hear that feedback. I don't like it. All right, yeah, I thought I muted it. Oh well. Okay, everybody can hear me still? Okay, great. So, floating point division. 7 divided by 2 gives me 3.5. 8 divided by 2 gives me what? 4.0, right? 4 would technically be right, but here we got to be careful and note that it's 4.0. Okay, this is floating point division. In other words, we end up with a floating point number as our answer, right? Which is exact. Now, most languages by default use integer division when we do division. So over here we see if we did 7 divided by 2, we basically just do division but chop off the remainder bit so that we could have an integer, right? A whole number at the end. Okay. The last operator, and the one that people start freaking out about that's really not too hard, is 7 mod 2, right? And what modulus does is you can think of it as the remainder operation. That's kind of a lie. There's a lot of lies in this class. Modulo actually has these really cool mathematical properties about like wrapping number spaces and stuff like that. But honestly, modulo over here, just think of it as the remainder operator. 7 mod 2 gives, so that 7 divided by 2, that would give us 3 remainder 1, right? So when you mod by a number, you get a remainder. Speaking of which, right, if you try to mod by 0, you're going to get a divide by 0 error, which is why I classify it as a division thing, because you can't divide by 0, so you're going to have, so it's impossible to get a remainder. Other thing to note about modulo, because of the way it works, right, if you have any number divided by a really big number, or any number that's bigger than it, it's like multiplying by 1 in the sense that you're going to get the same number back out, right? Any number, if you can't divide it, then the entire thing's the remainder, right? So give me 1 sec to mute. I just want to make sure I'm covering everything in the quiz for you guys before I actually give it to you. So first quiz, and you'll be able to see this on the recording, of course. Okay. Right. All right. Yeah, so that was just one more thing I needed to go over for that. Okay. Sorry. I do like to make sure that I cover everything for the quizzes so that you guys are completely unsurprised by everything. Don't you hate surprises on quizzes, right? So do I. So anyway, last thing we learned about, so we learned about floating points, we learned about integers, and we also learned about strings of text, right? If you're coming from another language, then you should know that Python does not have strings. It does not have characters. It just has strings, and a string, and if you're not coming from another programming language, that doesn't matter to you. So a string is just a bunch of characters. So like here, hello world is a string. We can also we also have some other special. Now, a string is classified as being anything between these symbols, because you can also do other operations with strings, right? We can do x is equal to hello, or actually, let's go ahead and just stop doing the x is equal to. I can do hello plus world, and if I add two strings together, it does what? Concatenates them. Concatenates them or just glues them together. So it would be hello world, right? All one word. So, and it doesn't have a space because neither of the strings we added had a space to go in between them, right? There's also some other characters we can put in, right? Hello plus /t plus, and you don't have to do pluses like this. I'm just doing this for the sake of, that was me hitting enter before I finished typing. The reason I'm doing addition over here is just simply to show the effect, the input of what you get, and then the output. Hello /t world. /t is one of those special escape characters. Here, it's just going to put in a tab. Or it would put in a tab if I were to print. If I were to print it, I guess. So let's see what happens if I try to print it instead. You can use one quotation mark or two quotation marks for strings. It doesn't really matter for Python. Actually, that's a total lie. It does matter, kind of, sort of, but there's no actual difference other than making it easier to do some things and other things. So here, right, the reason why we have these escape characters is that it's actually pretty tricky to get certain things to print out, like this. Like, he said, he said she sells seashells by the seashore, right? It's very tough to do those, like the things you would see in a book, right? Where invalid syntax here, right? Because it's saying he said is a string, and then it's looking for a variable called C and one that's called cells, and you can see why there's all these issues going on over here. So in order to actually literally print out quotation marks, we use escape characters like this. Oops. Again, me pressing enter because those two keys are right next to each other. He said she sells seashells by the seashore. Okay? So, escape sequences are fairly useful. All right, so the first quiz works like this. So what you want to do is go to Canvas. There's something called First Quiz there. It's designed to be very simple. This first one, it's very easy, but quizzes are generally supposed to be easy. All quizzes are locked behind a passcode. The passcode for this quiz is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same combination that's on my luggage. So what you want to do is you'll want to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you'll take the quiz. Here I've got different things because I'm the writer of the quiz. It'll also work on your phone, and the quiz will basically look like this, right? There's generally a question like this where it's got only one selection to it. Right? So this one's worth 4 points. You just click the button, receive points. Thank you very much. This is just simply so that there's a participation grade that's available. Then for the other ones, right, you'll see there's a put the lines in order question, which you'll understand, and then these other questions which you'll want to answer. Okay? So answer the quizzes, you'll get and you'll get the points. If you have to miss a quiz for some reason, please come to my office hours and I'll give you a passcode for the quiz you missed. And you can take it there. All right, so go ahead and take the quiz. This one should take maybe 4 or 5 minutes. If you need more time, let me know. I'll ask and just let me know.